Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about various mining, tools and gears and equipment and spare parts that you'll be needing if you have a mining farm, such as this one right here. This is one of our mining locations that we keep a lot of spare parts. So if you think that's interesting, hit like, subscribe, hit the bell, go to cryptollc.org if you want us to set you up a GPU or ASIC mining farm. Or if you want to buy yourself some GPUs or ASICs, go to cryptollc.org. And before we get started, Jesus Christ saves your soul and Bitcoin saves your wealth. All right, so I got a mining farm here. You can see we offloaded a bunch of rigs. One of our other clients, his location was completed. He was basically installing a 300 kVA, and that has been completed. So we moved over a bunch of his rigs over there. So we have some extra space here available for clients, so if you're interested, we can put your miners here. Also have other locations as well. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about just spare parts that are required for GPU mining. A lot of this stuff here is GPU mining. We also have some ASIC related equipment over here. We have an S19 Pro 110 terahash board right here. This board, you can see it just fried. Look at that. So this board fried a pretty long time ago. We're just keeping it as spare part. It's a manufacturing defect, had nothing to do with us. Just for some reason just exploded out of nowhere. Miner came offline. Well, it didn't really explode. There was no explosion or anything, but it just basically burnt. The electricity burnt through this. And the other hash boards next are just fine. Everything's fine. It's just that burnt. So I had to take it out, swap it out for a different board, and we kept this one for parts. Now we have all those chips. There's 114 chips on there. So now they're all spare parts. All the resistors are spare parts. The heat sinks are spare parts, and so on. So that's what we're keeping it for. While we're on the ASIC topic, actually, I'll just talk about some other ASIC related things we have. So this is a tool that's needed. It's a heat gun, kind of like a heat gun, but it's way more complicated and way more effective at actually being a heat gun. So you can set the temperature here, the airflow, and it holds that temp nice and good. Gotta use it like this. You heat up a chip if you want to take a chip off, or you heat up a resistor or well, not a capacitor really, but like a resistor, maybe a small capacitor. So you heat those up, then they come off, the solder, you resolder it, things like that. So that's needed for doing ASIC repair. Also for GPUs, if we ever need to do anything on a GPU. And here's all the stuff related to that. So we got the flocks right here. Then we have a chip. We haven't used this stuff for a while, but we have a chip. You put the paste on it, the soldering paste, and then you put the chip on it, and you squeeze out little tiny fragments of paste onto the chip, the head of the chip, or there's like little tiny signals, and you squeeze out that paste onto those signals, creates like a little soldering point, and then you can use that to actually heat it up and put it in the slot for the chip. So it's a little delicate process. That's a special tool for it. We got some of this stuff. This is taking off solder. Stuff like that. Got some extra chips in here. Some little ear picks, but we use that for removing like small particles off the hash board or off a GPU. Things like that, basic towels. This tool right here, this is used to send power to the board. So you set it like, I'd say at 10 amps. I'll show you some close-ups here. So let's say you set it at like 10 amps. You give it 10 amps and it'll send the power. You can see right here, got little two hooks. You put those on the hash board right here, 1 and 2. So one's positive, one's negative. That gets power to the hash board. Then you use a special tool, and that special tool will then check the signals throughout all the chips, make sure that all 5 signals are going through, like the RO, the RI signals, the CK signal, or the clock signal, all that stuff. So basically it's like a power. It's a PSU for checking hash boards, also for various other electronics. Very much needed for ASIC testing. Then we got, extra heat sinks for CPUs, and also over here some general Intel ones. Got a spare graphics card, really cheap one, because sometimes we get a PC without a graphics card and might not have like integrated graphics on the chip, so we have one of these just in case. Got some raw or some rip jaws. This is from G.Skill. It's a 16 gig memory stick, so we got some spares here. That's for general, like a B250 or a Q270 motherboard, things like that. Some back plates for heat sinks, special little clips and batteries, things like that. Tape. Here's a 2400 power supply. This is from Delta. So we also have these spares. So some of these things have been laying here. Need to be a little bit more organized, but this is the general table of spare parts. Some spare CPUs over there. Again, we had to change up some locations, change up some motherboards. So we had to take off some CPUs from one motherboard, put them on a different motherboard. So we have like a bunch of spares here. You know, spare batteries for the motherboards. Some screws. Those are the pipes we use for the motherboards. When we can't put the motherboard right onto the shelf because it'll short circuit. So we have these pipes. Put the motherboard on it. You can see holes there. And then we screw the motherboard onto the pipe, and then we put the pipe onto the shelf. That way it won't short circuit. On this side we have some thermal pads. So it's various thermal pads, 1.5, 1.5. I actually don't have any other ones here. I think we have maybe one last half a millimeter. So this one's half a millimeter. So if we combine 1.5 with half, that'll be 2 millimeters. That's what we need for like a Zotac card. But for a lot of cards, it's like for gigabyte turbos, it's 1 millimeter. Some cards 1.5, and then most cards like the Zotac is a 2 millimeter. We have that. Oh, here's some flux remover. That's also associated with asic repair. You know, little screws, little bits, little all that stuff. Some thermal paste right here. This is a thermal paste we use whenever we change out thermal paste. You can see we use some good stuff here. 15.7. Very, very, very high quality thermal paste. These are also at 15. Everything we use is like high quality. We don't use any cheap stuff for thermal pads or thermal paste. We only use the good stuff because we want to keep the cards nice and cool. Make sure they don't overheat. Obviously, it makes more money for our client, makes more money for us, keeps the card more stable, and so on. Now over here, this is our spare part section. We have a lot of risers here. You can see a box full of risers. These are empty riser boxes. But here we have some adapters from a C19 to a C13. Then we have some Tekken power switches. This is what we use for open air, so we can manually turn on and off the power. Then we have some EVGA. These are extra cords from EVGA 1600. We have, what are these? These are 8-pin, not double, but a single 8-pin PCI. We have some SATA cords here. These are a regular C19 to an American, what is it, a R15, I think it is. Then over here, these are CPU cords. Yes, they are. These are CPU cords, standard EVGA, CPU power. Over here, just some more pipes, you know, general stuff over here. They have some power buttons here. That's so we don't have to dig around and press the power button like on a motherboard if it's hard to get. Or a lot of times they don't have a power button. You have to pretty much plug that guy in. B250 doesn't have that, so you have to use that for B250 for sure. Q270 does have a power button. Sometimes it's just a little hard to get, so we use that. More cords, like CPU cords, some HDMI cords. These are our motherboard and CPU in one. So this comes with a parallel miner when you get a what's it called? The amp. What's it called? The ZSX. Yeah, the ZSX, I think is what it's called. It's if you're powering your motherboard straight from a parallel miner, like a 1600 or 1500 HP parallel miner. This comes with the PSU and with the breakout board. So you need that to actually power your motherboard. Over here we have just some general stuff. A lot of these things can be actually thrown away. This one comes with like a EVGA 1600 power supply. It comes with this. This allows you to turn on the power supply without having to have the motherboard be clicked on or turned on. So this is sending a signal to the PSU that you want to run the power without actually having the PSU plugged into a motherboard. So that's good. We got some 2 PSU adapters over there. We don't use those anymore. Then we have some EVGA. These are USB 3.0 shielded. That's from our risers. We have some more spare cords here. You can see this cord. It's what we use for 240 volt, and it's going to a C13. So here's a C13. Got a box of that. Got some extra Molexes over here. This one right here is a C13 to an American one, I think R15. Then this is more of those flat ones. See that? 240 volt. And it's basically just an extension cord. It's got a 3-way extension on there. Over here, got a little extra heatsink, bunch of brand new PCI Express USB from the risers basically. And then we got a bunch of box of risers here. So I'll show you in a box here. It's a bunch of risers. More riser USB shielded 3.0. This came from lolminer. These ones, we don't use these because we have our Tekken. We use Tekken instead. Then these are for pulling conduits, separating conduits. More, these are longer USB 3.0 shielded for longer, basically for GPUs that are hard to reach. They're like farther away. We had to put them a little bit farther. Basically, they're kind of like the edges of a shelf. Sometimes it doesn't reach all the way over there and the motherboard. So we bought some extra USB 3.0 shielded just for that. So yeah, so that's our little farm here. Again, we had to offload some to one location. We're going to be unloading more GPUs here from one of our other clients here in some time, maybe in the next like 2 weeks. And that farm, that 300 kVA farm, the client that moved his rigs to that farm, we'll be doing some videos from there pretty soon. It's almost finished, so there's going to be 51 rigs in there. So once that's done, I can do a video from there. It's going to be really, really full of GPUs, really crowded in there, but you can see basically 51 rigs all in one location, all running all at the same time with the airflow and everything, and it'll be pretty interesting. I'll do a video on that. Well, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys like it. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, or go to cryptollc.org if you want us to set you up a GPU or ASIC mining farm. This mining farm here is the one that we can keep all our spare parts in, so you can see a lot of stuff here. Our other mining farms are empty. We kind of build them out and then we move everything else out of there. And we move everything over here. So this is kind of like accumulation of 3 farms in one. A lot of stuff in here. All right, well, that's going to be it. And until next time, bye.